What's up, guys? It's MB Boxing. I just finished up watching Tony Yoka versus Carlos Takam, and this was a 10-rounder in the heavyweight division. And this fight was Saturday, March 11th, and this fight took place in Paris, France, and it was broadcasted on ESPN Plus. And in this fight, Carlos Takam was able to upset Tony Yoka, handing him his second straight loss, defeating him by split decision in a fight that really should have been a wide, unanimous decision for Takam. So I personally scored this bout 98-92 in favor of Carlos Takam. The three judges had this bout really close. Two judges had it 96-94 in favor of Takam. One judge having a 96-94 in favor of Yoka. So, I'm just going to get straight into this and how I broke it down. There's got to be something going on with these, French judges and when Yoka fights and favoritism there, because even in Yoka's last fight, they gave it a majority decision when Yoka got dropped twice and got dominated by Martin Bakole. He got dropped twice and still ended up having all three judges having it really tight, and then a majority decision for Bakole. And then here for Takam dominated the middle and late rounds in this fight. The earlier rounds were the only close part of this fight, but the middle and late rounds were dominated by Takam, and they still ended up having a split decision for Takam. And even the judges that scored it in favor of Carlos Takam had it really close. So just to break down my scorecard, the first three rounds, in my opinion, were the only close rounds in this fight. I gave round one to Yoka. He in the earlier rounds he looked much more energized. Obviously, that's obviously when he has the most stamina in the fight, and he was outlanding, or he was landing the better shots than Takam in those earlier rounds. He was placing his shots better. Round number two, I actually edged it to Takam. That was a close round as well. Honestly, could have went either way. Then in round number three, I gave that round also to Yoka. Yoka landed a nice right hand on Takam that backed him up a bit, so I gave him that round, but it was also a very close round. Then from rounds 4 to round 10, I couldn't really see any round I could have given to Tony Yoka. In those rounds, Yoka looked lethargic. He wasn't really throwing a lot, wasn't really landing a lot. Carlos Takam was much more active than him in all those rounds. He was throwing big looping shots over the top, big hooks. He was simply dominating Tony Yoka and showing him that, just because he's such a high decorated amateur doesn't mean that he's going to have a successful pro career, because the veteran in this case dominated the highly touted prospect in Yoka. And this was supposed to be a good comeback fight for Yoka, but he got beat up in the end. He was bleeding out of his eye in the end. His eye was swollen. He was getting hammered in the end. In the last 30 seconds, it looked like he almost accepted defeat when he was backed up with his hands down against the ropes, running away from Takam. He really got beat in this fight. And if you did watch it, comment down below how you scored it. I would imagine it's pretty wide in favor of Takam, which is how I saw the fight. I thought 100% it was in Takam's favor. I couldn't see any reason of how Yoka could have even got a draw in this fight, let alone even a 6-4 decision in his favor. But I'm at least happy that the right man won, but it should have been much wider. So this goes into the question, what is next for Carlos Takam getting this victory? This was a resurgence in his career. In his last fight, I believe it was his last fight, unless he had some fight in between, but I believe his last fight was when he fought Arslanbek Makhmudov. That was a pretty competitive fight. I thought he lost it, but he got dropped. I believe he got dropped twice in that fight, but he actually was able to make it really competitive throughout. And that fight, even though he lost, he did show that he could still hang with some of these decent level fighters in the division. And then this fight was announced, and I thought that Yoka would beat him. Yoka would get a nice comeback, but no, Carlos Takam really revived himself in this one. Put the press on, threw big, powerful shots, and showed that he could still hang with some of these guys, like I said before, when he fought Makhmudov. So this was a very impressive performance from Carlos Takam, and I definitely think that he's going to get an even bigger fight next, possibly for more money, possibly at a bigger stage, against maybe someone in the top 15, because, Tony Yoka at this point, it's pretty hard, or going into this fight, it was pretty hard to rate where he is in the heavyweight division, if he's top 20 still, if he's still rising up, if he's still going to have success. But, Yeah, but for Carlos Takam, I think that he'll either face yet another undefeated, like, rising heavyweight, possibly get a nice upset like here, maybe take a tough loss against Makhmudov, or he could get a decent fight against a solid fellow veteran in the heavyweight division that he could also get another solid win against. I mean, for Carlos Takam, I definitely think he should continue racking up these solid names on his resume, and who knows, what if he could get one last title shot at his at the latter stage of his career. But as for Tony Yoka, losing here for the second straight time, these are two tough losses for Yoka. I mean, if Yoka wants to continue on and have success, he can't be fighting these tough guys like back and forth. I mean, I know that some people might say, oh, these guys aren't tough. I mean, they're not world champions. They're not this. They're not that. I mean, but for Yoka's level right now, I mean, he has to just tone it down a bit. I mean, he's coming off two straight losses. If he's going to go into another tough fight and that he'll possibly lose, I mean, he should probably hang up the gloves with only, like, how many fights has he had? I'm pretty sure he's had, like, as of now, I think he's 11-2. Yeah, he's only had 13 fights in his pro career thus far. And I mean, he might even hang up the glove soon, based on how he's been looking. So, I mean, for him, he should just tone it down, take on a few fighters that he could easily steamroll through, get some solid, easy victories there, and then he could just continue building himself back up, getting himself back into world title contention, and just really starting to resurge or revive his career from what it was going into that Bacoli fight, where he was seen as a world level top prospect that could possibly beat some of the world champs. So overall, Carlos Takam defeats Tony Yoka, upsetting him, winning by split decision, although it should have been a unanimous decision, but nonetheless a big win for Carlos Takam as the underdog. And yeah, that's really it. I'm MB Boxing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.